Patch 14.2 doesn't bring many changes, but we have a few reworks and a couple of things that we need to consider when we're thinking about the new meta of this patch. In this video, I'm going to talk about the 5 comps that you want to play at the beginning of the patch to make sure you have good games. This is meant to be a short video because most of the comps you will know them already, but there are a few innovations there and there, so let's make sure that you watch it. I also made a cheat sheet at your disposal that you can find on Tacter.com. It's completely free, you have the link in the description. The idea is to help you have a quick reminder of the 5 comps you really want to play at the beginning of the patch, especially where you are in game and you don't have the time to rewatch this video. So I think this is going to be helpful to you. And also, just out of transparency, Tacter is also the sponsor of my channel, and this is why I'm using this website, but honestly, this is only free stuff for you. And if you can go on the cheat sheet and like, it will help me quite a lot. So thank you for doing so, and now let's talk about the comps. So the first two comps, you will already know them, you're probably tired of them, but I'm sorry to give you the bad news. It's just like these comps are still going to be good. Rayan and Yone reroll. So I'm going to have a brief description because I think most of you already know how to play them. I don't really want to go too deep into the details, but basically you want to play Rayan 8-bit if you can stack 8-bit quite early in the game to have more AD and faster basically. But what's really important to play this comp is that you have the ability to build Quicksilver and Bloodthirster plus even Shroud, so you can play this comp because Rayan without these two items will be completely useless most of the time. And after, on the third item, the best item is Giant Slayer. You can look at the stat, this is the best offensive item after you have these two on Rayan, because she will have tons of AD, so you want to amplify this damage. Don't build Titan, it's a bad item. Don't build things like Hush, you have too much sustain and not enough damage. IE is okay, Deathblade isn't that great. Deathblade, I would prefer to have that on Caitlyn for instance, or on Lucian. What's really also important is that at level 7 you roll for Caitlyn 2, and ideally later you have Lucian, so you have side carries to Rayan because Rayan is not going to be strong enough to solo win fights. Then if we go to Yone, it's kind of similar. You will roll at level 7, you will try to aim for Yone 3, but here the trick is like you have 3 potential headliner with Yone, and the best is Crowd Diver obviously, but let's say that if you don't have Crowd Diver, it's fine. It's fine if you have Edgelord or even Heartsteel. Heartsteel isn't the best of course, but thinking that way, if you have Heartsteel, you can play 3 Heartsteel and you can have more resources, so you can build a secondary carry, a third carry, and you can have more gold to push level 9 or even push level 10. So if you have Heartsteel, you don't have the same power on Yone, but you have power through resources, you get more compared to other comps. So this is how you want to play Yone. Obviously, you want to have a side carry. The best, I believe, is Zed. Obviously, if you don't have Zed, you can use Viego, you can use Kiana. Let's say that Zed is the most efficient and also the easiest to find compared to Kiana or Viego, who are quite contested actually in this meta. Now let's talk about the other comp. It's also a reroll comp that you guys know, but here's the trick. I will show on the screen right now the difference between Kayle before and Kayle after the patch. Kayle received a good rework, a very good rework. Now she will deal a lot of damage from the beginning of the fight, and her spell will be a big AoE damage. And this is why when you play Kayle, you want to build AP, you want to have a lot of AP, so she can deal huge bursts of damage on her spell, but you want also attack speed, that way she can apply the passive much better. So the idea behind this comp is basically just like before, you reroll for Olaf, but this time you will also reroll for Kayle at the same time. So when you roll for Olaf, you will buy all the Kayle that you find, and then at level 6, you will roll for Kayle 3. The huge pro of this version compared to before is that before you used to play Olaf with Carthus, but sometimes because you spend too much time at level 4 and level 5, you achieve being level 8 much later than everyone else, and then you couldn't fight Carthus anymore because all the Carthus are out of the pool almost. Here, you don't have this issue anymore, you have Kayle. Most people won't play Kayle reroll except if they have this Olaf setup, and that way you will find your secondary carry in a much more consistent way, and you will not be in a weird spot where you just have Olaf and you don't have side carries and you lack damage so you die. And then we have another creative comp. This comp is already kinda sleeper OP in patch 14.1, but I think it will shine even better on the next patch because Ezreal received the buff actually, and I think also people start to catch up the potential of this comp. Basically this comp is a comp you want to play if you have an early or mid game with Heartsteel, because Heartsteel will help you have much more resources, much more gold, and maybe even dummies with items, maybe support items, this kind of stuff that will make this comp much stronger. Because if you don't have R-Seal and you play this comp, you will lack quite a lot of resources. It's quite expensive and also it requires many items. So the biggest pro about this comp, and I think that almost no comp can say the same, is like you don't care about the headliner you get. Obviously you want Zed, Ezreal or Zac, but the proc, the trait doesn't really matter. If you have Zed, EDM, Crowd Diver, Ezreal, R-Seal, Big Shot or Zac, Bruiser, EDM, it doesn't really matter, because what really matters is that you have 2-star focus units and then you will win the fight just by sheer amount of stats and power. That's all. And then obviously you want to add Jazz, because as you can see you have many different synergies, so you can have a lot of stats with Jazz and just end with being first or second simply because you have too much stats. And then finally is Seraphine reroll. So this comp hasn't been touched at all in this patch. It's a really good comp and I think it's still going to be a really good comp. The idea obviously is to roll for Seraphine and you want to have the KDA headliner, but you also want to have Nico as your other 3 stars because she's going to be your main tank, and since Seraphine can heal her quite a lot, she can be almost unkillable. And as your secondary carry, you want to have Ahri, she's just the best. Obviously you can have Akali as well, but let's say that Ahri is just better because she can activate more spell weaver damage, she can deal a huge amount of damage on single target units like Olaf, Yone, Riven, you know this stuff. So this is why I really prefer to have Ahri right now over Akali. For Seraphine reroll, I didn't spend too much time because I already made a full guide and the video is just here. You just need to click on it if you're really interested in this comp that's been created, I think, by a Taiwanese guy in a Taiwanese tournament. So obviously this is a comp that I actually play quite often and I think I never bottomed with it. So actually it's quite a good performance, right? So I actually advise you to learn this comp because it can help you many times. Until next video, see you at the top of the ladder.